Right, I've had a few things going on this week, and I haven't had the opportunity to get to the suppliers to get bits for the bathroom, so we haven't been doing much there lately. Because I need to pull my finger out and go to the suppliers. So we're away from the dust and the dirt and the foul language and the screaming and the noisy tools and the fire. And we're in the civilized comfort of my very own room. And forgive me, I've only had 6 litres of tea today, so I'm not quite awake. My tea mug here, J for James. So nobody gets confused, thinks that it's their tea. Right. And what you're staring at now is the heart of the operation, the tool roll. Now, if you're in the trades and you've been doing anything for a short time, you already know what you're doing and what you need. So this isn't really for you. However, if you're an apprentice or just a gifted amateur, a home gamer, a DIYer, or you're anything like I was a few years ago, you'll be confronted with all sorts of conflicting advice and opinions, and you've got to make sense of it the best you can. And you'll make mistakes. You'll buy something and say, I really shouldn't have bought that. But what I have here is generally what I consider to be the right stuff as such. Now, before you start, getting into your specialist tools of whatever trade you're doing, your wood chisels, your multimeter, there is absolutely one precision instrument that is useful in any trade. One vital, high performance tool that you absolutely cannot do without. The surgical instrument I speak of is, of course, the claw hammer. Very useful. Now get the proper type that is steel all the way through, and get a good one. You don't have to buy these new, of course, you can get them second hand, but absolutely get a good one. It's not worth having the cheap type with the fiberglass handle and the horrible mild steel hammer on the end that's just been super glued on and it's all rattly and loose, because one day that hammerhead's going to fly off and you're never going to see it again. Or if you're in somebody's house, it'll break something or hit someone. But yeah, hammer like this, according to my father, is the weapon of choice for joiners putting nails in, and it's alright at smacking holes in things too. And this particular one is an East Wing. It was his before it was mine, and it's been with him a very long time. And the way I've kept the finish on this, what I've found is that if you spray it with acrylic conformal coating, it's stuff used by micro electricians and nerds and stuff to insulate things. It also makes a waterproof barrier to help stop the rust getting on. Obviously you can see where it's peeling off, but you can just keep on respraying. You get it in a can. It's quite good for waterproofing things. Now, that's all that there is to know about hammers. Get a good one. It's worth it. Spend the money. Now, this is a rather cheaper tool, the Roughneck 18-inch pry bar. Now with these, obviously I'm a plumber, so that's why I have such a barbarous instrument. Anybody who knows anything about wood, steer clear of anything like this. But this is actually quite useful and quite versatile. For such a cheap thing, this was about £12 if I remember correctly. Now the type that you want to get, especially if you're getting a cheap one, is you want to get one that's a hex. That's a hex type. Don't get the flat types, because even if you buy an expensive one, they will over time weeble wobble, especially if you use it, if you overuse it and use it for things that are it's a bit too small to do, you're going to end up breaking it. With this hex type, it's a lot more robust, and you can downgrade the price paid for this type design because it will actually work a hell of a lot better. There's more material and it resists strain well. You've got a nice little cold chisel here for chipping and poking, and you can yank nails out of it like nobody's business. Or yank nails out with it, not nails in it. I don't know how you'd get a nail inside this. So yeah, those are your, surgical instruments covered, the basics. With these two, most floorboards, covers, walls and other such shouldn't present too much problem to you. Another optional thing you can get, something to step in between the flat-bladed screwdriver and the crowbar, what for levering up floorboards and such, is the bonsai bar. Now my boss first turned me onto these, he had one, and I've noticed that it was the most used thing in our toolbox. So much so that his broke, and we went on an epic search to find them, but these can be had from Toolstation. Again, they're cheap. They're about 7 quid, but they are very useful. This little goat's foot contraption here can go in quite narrow spaces, what for pulling nails out. Say when you lift the floorboard and the nail's still gone right through the floorboard, still in the joist, and you've got to try and get it out, but the hammer's too big to actually get in there to get at it, and you don't want to reach for the pliers because they're brand new. We've just replaced them, and you don't want to mess them up pulling out bloody iron floorboard nails. No, this will get in there and get to it. You've also got a little notch here. But what this is most excellent for is obviously floorboards and stuff, but also bathroom tiles. Short of getting the SDS drill out and putting a big scoop on it, and then you'll take bathroom tiles off like nobody's business. But if you haven't got the money to get that kind of gear, which if you're watching me you probably don't, this is the single and most effective way to get rid of bath tiles. Anything that's this sort of shape, you don't have to conform rigidly to what I've got here. I'm not trying to say that, but this is the type shape tool you want, because you can get crowbars where they've got a flared end on this end, but I chose to have the cold chisel because I've already got this. And you'll find that this will break after about 6 months to a year. It will just snap right in half because it gets hammered and hammered and hammered, and it just gets all the abuse. If you can find a well-made one, certainly jump on it because you'll have it for longer. But I can guarantee that one will break. But they're only about £7, so if you stop eating Happy Meals or forgo a packet of cigarettes, you can actually get hold of one fairly well. Right, now next on importance, you're going to need to be cutting stuff. Now, junior hacksaws, obviously big hacksaws you'll need, but I can't fit them in here. I tend to put them in with my other tools. This is like the basic tool set. We'll get to the other bigger, more specialist stuff here, but get a nice hacksaw. Don't get the type where it's like a bit of wire and it's all higgledy-piggledy and you've got to try and bend it this and that way to actually, change the blade, because over time they'll get loose. They won't hold the blade tight, and you'll end up, with it cutting wonky. This is the type you want. Get a nice one, and you'll have it forever. Also, get one where the handle's actually like that, because if you've got one where the handle's straight, you're going to do in your wrist. Your wrist is going to be at 90 degrees while you're cutting all the while, and it's just more awkward. With this type, it's less fatigue on your wrist. If you're using one of those other ones all day, and you're doing a lot of cutting with it, your wrist is going to hurt. Whereas with this, you can actually apply force easily. You can keep your hand and your arm straight as you're cutting, and you can concentrate more on cutting straight if you're cutting pipe work out than you can doing other stuff. This one, obviously the nut holds it in, so you can't really mess this up. This is a lot easier to change the blade on. All you need really, if you want to do this up super tight, is a pair of grips, and I'll get to what grips I have. You can't really go wrong with this. On the other ones, they do spring out as well. With this, as long as you put it in and it's not the wrong way round, you're good to go. It's a lot easier, less forgiving. No, more forgiving. Need more tea. That Northumberland blend's nice. Right. Now those are the basic things. We'll get into everything else. Now obviously I'm a plumber, so if you're an electrician you'll have different things in here. But some of these things are a bit universal. The spirit level as well. If you get one that's got magnets on it, you can stick it to metal things. What, steel conduit and God knows what you electricians use these for. But they're quite good for when you're putting up radiators, because you can stick them to the steel radiator brackets and check their level. And really, you need a spirit level anyway. But again, instead of buying the little one and it falls off everything all the time and it's falling around everywhere, you can at least, you can give this one a good chance of not getting absolutely thrashed, because you can stick it to something, then your hands are free to actually wiggle and check that everything's level. Oh, good God. My speech is going down the pan. Any second now I'll be effing and blinding and using colloquialisms. because it's just far too early in the morning to speak calmly and nicely. There we go. And all this is fairly self-evident. I'm not going to tell you what you use screwdrivers for. Obviously the flat one is for poking and undoing floorboards, you know, levering them up, chipping things, poking holes in drywall, and occasionally you might even find a flat fastening to undo. Get a few different sizes of the flat screwdrivers. Don't buy them new, there's not really a lot of point. If you buy a good quality one like a Stanley, like these Stanleys were made in England I think, the good quality ones will serve you just as well. And especially, most of the time, you'll find that people give these to you if they know you need stuff. You know people that, you know, have got tools lying around that they don't need, you know. Let them know. Obviously don't, you know, go charging in, demanding, but, you know. You will come into these, especially if you're just starting out, people will give them to you. So it might be worth holding off, you know, just getting the ones you absolutely need and then just seeing what else comes your way. I would say get a thin one, because you can use it for terminal blocks, and also for unclogging your silicone gun, because the nozzle gets clogged up all the while, and you can poke that in there as long as you've got a thin enough one and get that unclogged. Also tile bits, drill bits for drilling tiles, thin screwdriver, essential for unclogging all that stuff. Now you absolutely need a little silly Phillips screwdriver like this, not because you're going to find screws this small holding down a floorboard, because this is the kind of thing where there's, you know, if you're installing something like a bog roll holder or something like that, it's the kind of silly screw that you get, you know, included with the package and whatnot, or it'll be a grub screw with its own Allen key that isn't actually the right size and doesn't fit any of your other Allen keys. So they're always worth holding on to, but this will save your skin, because you'll get it, and if you've not got the right screwdriver, you'll get the smallest Phillips you have, and you'll try and poke it in there and do what you can, but it's not enough. Whereas this, it's always worth having. Now obviously you'll need a big Phillips and a little Phillips, and these are the most two common sizes you'll use. Buy the Phillips and not the posi drive, because these Phillips pattern screwdrivers will fit posi screws. It does not work the other way around, because posi screws, I'll show you on my hex bits, have little fins in them, and if nobody's explained this to you by now, you know, Lord help you, but I'll show you the difference. You see these bits here? This one will fit into, this Phillips will fit into posi screws. This one will not fit into Phillips screws, because there's no extra slots for these side bits. You'll go a little way in, and then you'll start to turn it, because you feel like you've gone in as far as you can, and you'll chow to the end, and you'll swear loudly, and the screw's not coming, and you'll keep going and going until it's really chewed up. And you could avoid all that just by using the Phillips. Which brings me conveniently to my next talking point. Obviously you don't have to get electrician screwdrivers, these are the ones that I just happen to have. Always, you know, don't feel that you have to have everything absolutely as you need it. No, as you want it even. Like, don't feel like, oh, because I'm not an electrician, I can't use electrician screwdrivers, I'm not allowed. You know, these will undo screws just fine, regardless of whether you're undoing floorboards or whether you're actually an electrician using them for God knows what electricians use them for. My next point, hex bits. Buy the kind that are rated for impact drivers, even if you do not have an impact driver. I don't have an impact driver. But when I do, I can put these bits in, I've not got to get another set. You'd think it'd be simple, right? But so many people have all these hex bits that they've accumulated over the years, and they keep having to change them in their impact driver because they're not impact rated and they keep breaking. And get yourself a hex bit screwdriver, and you can sidestep having to have about 50 screwdrivers all in your tool roll and having to get a big monstrous toolbox, you know, a big Stanley Fat Max thing that costs like 60 quid just for the toolbox. No need. Save yourself the money. Get this and get a nice hex bit screwdriver. Preferably one that you can take down, because you can put this in a drill, you've got a drill driver, you're not got to spend extra money, and you've got a nice little petite screwdriver, what for reaching in all the hard to reach places. That's the type to get. I've got another one and it's really big and beefy, and it's got a solid, you know, handle that's like the size of a bloody boat anchor, and all of that is all solid and you can't do anything with it. at least with this, especially if you've got a really hard to turn screw, you can get the adjustable spanners on the flats here and give yourself a helping hand if you've got a really tight, nasty screw. Let's say on a pan fixing, you know, where the toilet pan's fixed to the floor, you can get it undone. So that'd be my advice as far as screwdrivers are concerned. The basic sizes, because if you just get this, you'll get unstuck because you'll get a hole or you'll get a screw and you can't reach it because this collar or whatever's in the way. It's not narrow enough. So it is worth having these, but you can start out with that and work up to these. And then people might see, oh, he's not got what he needs. You know, they might even have spare screwdrivers they don't want. You know, the wife's been telling them to chuck them out for years. Like, oh, why don't you get rid of those things? And they'll see you as a golden opportunity to bestow upon you fine gifts. Now, if you're an electrician, you'll have electrician tools. Like I've said a million times, but Knipex tools, if you're not one, I'll let you know, Knipex are absolutely wonderful. If you have one of these, you'll have it for the rest of your life. Build quality is second to none. They're made in Germany. There's other brands as well, like Wera and what's the other ones? CK. But Knipex, they're the ones that I have experience with and can testify that they're good. So if you get like these screwdrivers, I think are Wiha. Yeah, Wera, Wiha. Don't know how you say it. So if you're shopping second hand for tools, always look at the brand. Because if it's a good brand and the person who's selling it doesn't know how good of a brand it is, you can make a killing. You can get something that you'll have for the next 20 years for not very much money, because they might look at it and go, oh, well, it's all got all this plastic on it, it must be cheap. You know, it's not necessarily so. Another thing with this Knipex is a little bit of lore. Is the number here, you'll see it like this, and it'll have all the ratings on it, made in Germany, all that, and the serial number. But this number here is the last two letters of the year it was made. This was made in 2011. So you can tell the production date on any Wera tool, no, any Knipex tool that way. And it's only Knipex that do that. I also have Knipex plumbing grips. These are quite good. They'll grip anything you want. They do make non-electrically insulated ones. These are the ones that I just happen to have. There's no reason why I can't use these as a plumber just because they're electrically insulated. There's nothing stopping you. You know, the other plumbers might think, oh, these are horrible. They've got big plastic handles. Oh, but there's nothing stopping you. These were made in 2014. These were given to me as a pair. But if you see these in, you know, the cash converters or anything else, and they're a reasonable price, you don't have to buy them new. Just jump on them. Now, these will do 28mm compression nuts, and these are the smallest size grip they make, I think. So if you get the next size up, it'll do whatever you want. And you don't have to get this type. I prefer the push button type, but this is what was available, this was what was easiest to get, and you might be like me on a budget. Anyway, on to spanners. Bahco are the end game for spanners. You can get other lesser spanners. This one is an RS Components one. You can tell a lesser spanner, especially if you've been using it for a while. It's because this one is a Bahco, I think. Yep. And I've been using this for quite a long time. And you can see I've got a few little tiny idiot marks on here where I've not adjusted the spanner properly, and I've been in a hurry, and I've been thinking about, you know, kids stuff or whatever, you know, because when you're young, you know, you don't do stuff properly, because when you're young, you're stupid. Now you can see on this one, which has been used for less time, but this one, the idiot marks are much more pronounced because this steel is softer. This has had exactly the same abuse, the same problem, and yet this has come out worse for wear. And you'll see this is a telltale sign that this is a lesser tool than the Bahco. So when you're shopping around for spanners, bear that in mind. You can also use a pin file and gauge how hard the steel is, obviously not in front of the person who's trying to sell it to you, because they'll get pissed off, or they might not understand, or at least ask their permission. But yeah, these number 10s, or no, number 12 Bahco spanners, they will not do compression, 28mm compression nuts. such as I found out when I was putting a couple of 28mm valves in, and you know, got undoing them, do it up, got all pasted, all lovely, all ready to go, and these didn't fit on the compression nuts, and I said, oh bugger, very loudly. But fortunately these do. So I'd say, if you're going to get backhoe spanners, what you really want are the wide jaw ones they make for plumbers, and they've got like a polyvinyl handle in the middle, and they open really wide. You can go onto 28mm with those, and you can buy them in 3 different sizes, I think. Those are the ones to get, but obviously, if your finances do not allow, then, you know, you have to compromise, don't you, somewhere? It's not, you know, life doesn't always go as planned. But I would say if you're starting out, and if you're going to spend the money, don't spend the money on these, like if you've got to drop some serious money for these. Because they are worth quite a bit of money, like, I'm not going to lie. If you can get them for cheap, jump on them, but if they're serious money, I say don't get these number 12s. Skip it, say I'm not interested, not for that much. Save the money up and get the backhoe wide jaw ones, even if you have to buy them new. I know, it's a horrifying thought, spending money on new tools. Now, radiator keys. There are a few different sizes. You can get the ratchet. You know, you see it where it's got the funny shaped insert for a 5/8 ratchet, and it's got all the sizes on it in one. They're about 20 quid, depending on where you go. These were a couple of pounds each, and these cover most sizes. This is a different size to that. One of these is 12mm, another one's 10.5mm or whatever it is, and this is the standard 1/2 inch or whatever it is radiator key. That is the most cost-effective way to do it. Obviously it's not as easy to use as the ratchet, but you can get these round. What you do is you bang them with a hammer if you want to undo a troublesome tail in a radiator. Say if you're stripping it out and you want to, you know, get the tails out, that's how you do it. Or if you're doing them up, you can use a hammer, but be careful on a new radiator. Obviously when you're banging and smacking, you know, brand new 80-pound radiator about, it's not a good idea. You need to use care and discretion, and maybe a mallet, or if you don't have a mallet, you can wrap this up in cloth. You can do, you know, use your brain, work it out. That's radiator keys as far as they go. Those will get you by. Stilsons, you don't have to get them new, but get a good pair, record or a good pair. And these are quite useful, not just for undoing really stubborn nuts and stuff, and not just for, you know, LCS pipe work. You can also use these for, they're essential really, for tightening up radiator valves properly, where the radiator coupling is. Imagine this is your radiator coupling coming out with your nut and your olive on the end, or whether it's just a straight bit of pipe, whatever type you get. And your valve's here, and it's going down into a 15mm stub coming up. You put this on the side of the valve like so. You know, just loose, don't do it up like that, because you'll end up graunching and crunching it. Just put it on loose at an angle, and then you can hold it quite steady while you do up the coupling nut. And then when that's steady, you can do up the one underneath without too much bother. That'll save you a lot of time. It's a lot better than using the grips, because you can never get a good grip with the grips. Like if you do it like that, it's funny and awkward. If you try and hold it from the top, you're going to end up damaging it probably. You'd certainly damage, you know, the little plastic cap. Now for pipe slicers, I've got all the pipe slicers I need, but if you're just starting out and you haven't got a ton of money, you can get this for £4. And this will do all the little ones all the way up to 22mm. You can get them bigger and smaller as well. This isn't the only one to get, but this is the smallest one because this is a throwback from before I had my own motor car. I used to have to walk everywhere, and I wanted something lightweight in my tool roll because I was rucksacking this tool roll with me to college. And it had less tools in it then, but it was still quite heavy, and I didn't want to, you know, get a great big, you know, you see it with the great big steel monstrosity with the deburrer on the end and everything else. You can sidestep, you know, carrying that and get this thing for a lot less. And it does roughly the same thing. Obviously there's no deburrer here, but I have a deburrer, so that doesn't really matter. And obviously they're all different types of deburrers, you know, everyone's got their own one, and most people don't bother anymore. You speak to a lot of the older guys, they say they don't bother, it's not worth it. I still do. I'd be lying if I said I do it all the time on every single bit of pipe work I do on a silly little bit of pipe under a tap. It's not going to make much difference, but if you're running a lot of pipe, it is best practice. I still do it. But again, I am young and idealistic. Obviously you need pencils. Now, if you went to a college that's anything like mine, and they taught you to cut plastic, speed fit pipe with one of these, no. Forget all that. The people that are teaching you, they don't know what they're on about if they say, oh, this is fine for plastic pipe. It's not. You always get leaks, it's always problems, especially in the real world. The workshop is not like the real world. This is what you want. If you're in the trade, you already know what this is. This is a plastic pipe cutter. It works like a pair of secateurs basically on a ratchet. And it'll come down and cut through anything. If your fingers are in here, it will cut through them. It does not care. It shows no pity or remorse. It will cut through pretty much anything. It will do micro bore speed fit, 15mm speed fit, 22mm speed fit, 28mm speed fit. It will do the lot. Most of the sizes you'll encounter anyway. Poly pipe, JG, it doesn't care. And it leaves a nice clean end. As long as you hold it straight on the pipe, which can be difficult sometimes. As long as you can get it straight on the pipe and get it cut correctly. Make sure this blade's sharp, don't let it get all chowdered up, keep it sharp. It's fine. Now they will tell you in the sales catalogue that this will cut waste pipe. It can, but it is quite difficult, and you, more often than not, especially if you're not practiced, end up crushing the pipe, squashing it. And I have other tools for cutting waste pipe that I've just discovered, and they're not here, so you'll have to wait till next time. When we do some videos in the bathroom, when I finally get the stuff for the waste pipe, I will show you. They're like pipe slicers, but they're for waste pipe. 1.5 inch, 1.25 inch, 2 inch. And they are the only way to go. You can forget this. Like, it's alright for waste pipe, but when I show you these, I think you'll end up chucking this to one side. Now, you may ask, where's your Stanley knife? Where's your tape measure? They are essential tools, and you should have those as well. Don't think you can get by without a tape measure, certainly. However, I don't carry them in my tool roll. I carry them here on my Batman utility belt. Two absolute things you can't leave home without is a knife, a good knife, nice Stanley knife, and a tape measure. Now, I'll talk to you a little bit about this. Obviously, this is a knife for cutting. This one's quite good. It holds spare blades. You don't have to get an expensive one like this. You can get a Stanley one or a DeWalt one or whatever it is, where it flicks open. I used to have one of those for many years, and it works quite well, and you can loosen the screw so it flicks open rather than having to unfold it with two hands. And you can look very cool while you're doing it, and you can flick it out and start slashing up cardboard. However, they will break on you after about 2 years of heavy daily use, and this one, is still pretty much, apart from the dirt, it's still pretty much as it was new, and I've been using it for 6 months. There's no signs of wobble, and there's no signs of deterioration. Not even the little silly plastic lid has broken yet. Though I have looked down a few times when it's been on my belt, and this has been open like that, and I've lost my Stanley blades. But that's the only thing I can say negatively about that knife. And this isn't a tool review as such. This is more a general pointer as to the basic things you should get for plumbing. Now, tape measure should be included with the hammer and the crowbar. Real basic tools. I like to get one because if you're anything like me, I like one with big numbers. And I'll tell you why. If you're anything like me and you struggle to read stuff, especially when you're under pressure, people are shouting on you like, I want the pipe cut now, why, where is it, what's going on, and you've got a dozen other things that you're worrying about. You might say, oh, you might read this as 250 rather than 520mm. It's easy to get confused. With the bigger numbers, it's less so. You're not, say with this one, you have to fucking squint and fucking look really close and you're like, oh god, where the hell's the mark? Whereas this, you can stand back quite far and still discern where the numbers are. The bigger the numbers, the less mental load it is. And also with a chunky tape measure like this, you can reach it much farther across the room. Look at that. Which makes it easy if you are told to measure a room by yourself. You can reach it across and get it on things. And also with this end, it's quite good because you can hook this onto pipe. Just, you know, hold the pipe, hook it on the end. I'll show you. Say if I wanted to cut this, obviously I've got to make a big hole in the ceiling with it first. You can hook this on the end like so. Say I want... Fucking hell, it's not going to work now because I've been out of practice. Yeah, say I want... 40 inches. There's 40 inches. As you can see. And then you just cut. Instead with this one you've got to hook it on the end, and it's fucking hell, it's not like, you know, I was a bit slow there because I've been on holiday for a few weeks, but fucking hell, you're gonna have a lot harder time with this. You're gonna have to get down, you have to put it on the floor, you're gonna have to get this open, you know, and it's so much more faff, and you're gonna have to do that. Whereas with this, you can at least do it while you're standing up, because you might not be able to lie down on the floor and do it. Unless, especially if you've only got to do a short bit, you can lock it, put it on, mark it, cut, do what you got to do. Stanley Fatmax one's the way to go. However, one complaint I do have about this tape measure is the bloody clip. You put it on your belt, and you're running around all day, jumping in and out of loft hatches, helicopters, God knows what, and you're up and down, you're getting down, and you're getting up, you're standing up, you're crouching again. And this gets weeble-wobbled loose because they put a stupid little clip on it. And then, you know, you'll be going along and you'll hear this noise. And that'll wake the boss. The boss will be like, what's that? What's going on? What have you broken now? And you're like, oh my god, what's going on? And it's just the tape measure. Now, Stanley did think ahead and build this thing so tough that it can be dropped from down 3 flights of stairs and still be fine. You know, it's quite a good little tape measure. But this clip is fucking garbage, and I need to work something else out to keep this attached to my body at all times. You know, so I can, you know, I can't sleep unless I can feel the cold plastic against my skin and know that my tape measure's on me. But yeah, while this is here, I'll show you what else I carry with me. Obviously, you've got to have about 3 different torches. Torches. You know, I could go and buy a good one that actually holds battery for more than an hour, but I've got lots of okay ones, so yeah, which is handy because you can give them to people. Like if you're drilling a hole, you know, you're running pipe, you know, say into the next room, and they go, oh, can you see the hole, and you shine the light down it, and you come back and you go and you see, oh yeah, I can see the light. It's quite good in that respect because you can, you know, you can give a torch to each person. Especially the boss, because he won't carry one. Much too taxing to put, say, this in your pocket, this little tiny, you know, thing that's only, well, what is it? It's only, you know, 3.5 inches long. You couldn't possibly carry that. Much too big. And pipe slicers. Now, this is what I do with my pipe slicers. I put them in these. These are like grenade pouches, what kids and airsofters use. They're just the right size for 22mm and 15mm pipe slicers, and I've even got a little place in there to put a little pencil. So if I've not got, well, basically I always have a pencil with me, because you know what it's like. I've forgotten my pencil. Oh, give me yours, and you know, before you know it, by lunchtime you've given out about 5 pencils and you've got none left. You can at least stand there and say, because I usually keep my pencils in here, you know, oh, I've not got any left, and you know, you haven't, but you have, because they're hidden in here. If people can't, if it's not in sight when they look at you, you know, it's fine. And you might think that's a little bad, but remember, they've taken 5 pencils off of you already. Well, you know, and you're not bloody stationery supplier. So, yeah. But yeah, with torches, I'm at the point where I'm getting ready to replace these, and all with one, you know, big torch that will, you know, stay switched on for a day, and just have a spare one for poking down floors and stuff, one that I don't mind using. But that's when I get the money saved up. But yeah, this is my tool belt, a little snapshot in time. That's what I keep on it. I've got to make sure to keep this all together. I also put my keys on here. And the reason why I have it on a belt and not all in my trousers is A, because when you're carrying pipe slicers in your pockets, what you'll get after about 2-3 months is you'll get a horrible callus-like blister on your thigh, all with hairs all ingrowing to it. It's gross, it's horrible. Don't do it. But get it on something like this. You can put this on, you can take this off if, say, you've got to go crawling around under a floor or in an attic or something. It's the way to go at the minute. This is all a snapshot in time. As I learn more, obviously I'll put different things in here, I'll take things out. And that's the thing, your tools should never be set up, they should never be finished. Don't think, oh, I've got this, I have arrived. There is always something more to learn and something else to get, some way to make yourself faster and better. Especially if you're like anything like me, slow and stupid. So yeah, I hope you found this video informative. This is the basic tools, and shit, now I've got to put all this away, and I've spread it all out everywhere. When you pack up, obviously put things in the same place, then you can see if anything's missing, if anybody's borrowed something and not quite remembered to give it back. And you know, you ask them where it is, and I'm not sure, I think I put it in the bottom of my toolbox behind all my other stuff in my van. Oh, I wonder how it got there. I was totally going to give it back though. Especially things like this. Because if somebody hasn't got one, they immediately see it and they want it. And things like this hacksaw I've had to fucking hunt down a few times. And this, so, not so much on site, you know, like, you know, in houses with other trades, but in college, if, you know, like, when you're doing bay work, everybody's like, oh, can I borrow the cutter, can I borrow the cutter? And after the first 20 or 30 times, it gets a bit taxing, and, you know, I'm a patient man. Not really. But I like to think I'm patient, even though I'm not. You can always be more patient. That's what I like to say, but, you know, even my patience has limits. But yeah, shit. Gotta remember how this all goes back together. That didn't go there. That's a lie. These go. No, they don't. They go in this one. Can you remember? Rewind the video and see how this went together, because I can't fucking remember. Oh dear. I think that went in there. That one went in there. See, this is the problem. If you're not using these every day, you quickly forget. You know, you have a nice time away, and you come back and you can't remember where the hell anything goes at all. Nah, that can't go in there. That has to go in there. That goes there. Okay, this will be some time. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Hope you figured out what you want to get for your tools. Basically, the golden rule, just to conclude, if you don't know what you need the tool for, you don't need it. That's the guiding star behind all of this. If you don't know what you need, you don't need it, or you don't know what you're going to use it for, you don't need it. So it's quite easy to get led astray by all these gimmicky tools. Like there's a hacksaw. It's like the junior hacksaw, but it takes the full-size blades. That thing, garbage, absolutely useless. Don't get that. Don't let the man at the shop sell it to you. Don't let, you know. Always don't buy anything on impulse. Always go away and think about it. You know, actually, you know, take a day between seeing something, saying that you want it, and then actually handing over the cash. If anything else, like if you take nothing else away from it, at least take that, because that will save you some money. Because you might realise, I don't actually need that, or hey, that's going to break in like 5 seconds because it's a gimmick. And yeah. You're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. There's a few things here I, would have done differently, like these backhoe spanners. They're good spanners, but they don't quite do what I need them to do. And that's that. That's life. So that really is it. Goodbye and good luck.